Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Kenny Mack and myself coming to you virtually. Going to talk about what's trending in Browns universe online, what the fans are talking about going into the Saints, coming off of our bye. A lot of good stuff to get into today. I think the biggest thing was the Jedrick Wills press conference that kind of caught the world on fire the other day. It was the only thing I saw for a couple days, so we're definitely going to get into that. Again, going to get into what we want to see
for sure.
How did the Browns second half of the season in terms of our coach is going to be back, our players going to be back. So we got a lot to get into today. I think it's going to be a good one. Before we do, though, remember, if you want to get intros and thoughts on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content that we're putting out. If you prefer to just listen to the show, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google. You can also find us on all the major social media platforms. Just search at The Dogs Podcast, and you will find us there. And lastly, if you're looking for more Dogs content, head to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on our Patreon page, get access to the private Discord, get to be part of the Dog Pack Discord preview episodes, help influence the content in a significant manner, especially in the off season, play fantasy football with us if I didn't already say that. So it's a good time. You get to hang out with a lot of cool people. So that's jointhedogs.com if you want to become a Dog Pack member. And then, Kenny, we didn't even talk about this, but I wanted to give you a second because I know it's November. So why don't you talk about what you do every November real quick? Because normally we plug it for you, and this is, I think, this may be our first episode in November. So I want to make sure we plug it.
Yeah, so I always raise money for Movember, and it's usually, you're supporting mental wellness, both physically, mentally, and it's the main thing is also suicide prevention. Trying to raise about $2,500 a year. We surpassed that last year. I hope to surpass it again. It's been a weird year, though, because we kind of started, and I do a lot of my fundraising during Browns games. Well, we only had a game on the 1st, and we're like halfway through the month right now. So what I'll do is I'll post that link in the comments at some point. If you want to support me, that'd be fantastic. It's Canadian dollars. So if you do $50 today, which will be, we're doing this actually the day before. So today will be Thursday. You get it. Every $50 donation gets an extra $25 from Pringles. They do have a limit on how much they're going to give, though. So get that earlier than later and help me out. And, $50 US is like 25 cents Canadian. So it's not going to cost you too much, right?
Yeah. It's a great cause. Kenny's done it, and we've helped promote it for him the last couple years. He's hit his goal. I don't know if Josh will have a chance to put a graphic up on the screen for it or not. He's going to edit this. This is the first he's hearing about it, so not to put him on the spot. But like Kenny said, he'll post the link in the comments, and we'll definitely put the link in this description of the videos as well. And I'm sure we'll put something on our social media. I know in the years past, you guys done a really good job helping Kenny out. So
got a little bit of a mo going right here. So there's a little more, a little less pepper, a little more salt as I get on through these Browns seasons.
Yeah. The Browns are the reason for the gray hair. But no, it's a great cause. So check out that link, help Kenny out. And it looks good for Browns fans. So we appreciate anybody who does donate. It's an awesome thing. So want to jump into the episode because we got kind of a lot to cover. And we don't like to spend 2 hours on these episodes. We want to keep your guys' attention, and the attention spans in the world just keep shrinking. So we're going to have to split this up into 50 different TikToks for people to watch the whole episode. But like I mentioned in the open, the big thing I saw coming out of the bye week was the Jedrick Wills press conference, where he said he made a business decision to not play in the Ravens game. I know what my immediate reaction was to that. I feel like we probably had the same immediate reaction, but what did you think when you heard him say he made a business? I mean, that's a bad look.
Man, it's literally like going to work and telling them that you were sick, and then you say, like, tell everybody else that you weren't sick. Like, I mean, it's just like something that you don't do at a job. You know what I mean? Originally, when he said it, though, I'm not going to lie, this perspective might be a little bit different. I was kind of relieved. It kind of put things in perspective where he was on the team. And I felt that this was just going to cement DeJuan Jones at left tackle. He was going to be the swing tackle, and he's not coming back. I got more into it and thought about it more today when I heard Stefanski saying, well, it was a poor choice of words. I was like, poor choice of words? I mean, like, if you listen to the presser, it was just a poor choice of being there. Like, everything that he said didn't correlate to him, like, being on the team or even, like, being like a football player. And, there's things about him, like, I do feel bad. I do get it. Like, he hyperextended his leg against the Bengals, and they had to drain fluid. There's swelling. He's got cartilage damage. I guess he's been dealing with a bone bruise since last year, right? And, when I heard Joe Thomas talk about it, he goes, that's what happens when you're in the NFL. You just got to deal with it. And there was this disconnect where he's saying, like, well, I got to be 100%. And every other player in the league isn't playing at 100% right now. Even though they're full participants in practice, they're not, right? And there's a kind of a flip side to it too. I'll get your thoughts on it, but I know I'm relieved that he didn't play injured. I think you got to go out for your team. But then I look at the way, and I kind of bashed Baker about this when he had the shoulder injury. I was like, you should have sat because the team suffered. So maybe we didn't win that game if he didn't play. I don't know, but the look is bad. Professionalism is bad. He looks like a guy that's just cooked, mentally, physically. He sounds cooked. He gets cooked. He's, I think, 52 player rating this year on PFF, which is not very good. And just a bad look overall, even though, I don't want to make excuses for him. He was injured, but we won the game. And overall, I mean, his actions speak louder than words, and his words just even spoke louder. That's not what I can say about it. You know what I mean?
My coaches used to always say, are you hurt or are you injured? If you're hurt, suck it up and you go out and play. If you're injured, then you're legitimately injured, and you go see a trainer and you get it taken care of, and you're out until you're not injured anymore. The 100% thing, it's one of those deals where nobody's 100% at this point in the season. But Myles Garrett's playing with multiple injuries.
He's Achilles, for cripe's sake.
Yeah, so if you have Myles Garrett, who is a premier player in the National Football League, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, if he can grit through it and play through injuries in a season where we're playing games for literally no reason, then Jedrick Wills can play when he's a little bit busted up and sore. Now, if a doctor told him you're at a greater risk of re-injuring yourself if you play, you're legitimate, I have no problem. But then it's not a business decision. You were told that you shouldn't play. So when he says business decision, I take it told as the doctor said, you're not at a further risk of injury. As long as you can play through the pain and manage it, you're fine. You're not at risk of hurting your career going forward. And he just said, nah, that's okay. I just let DeJuan Jones play. Well, if you don't want the job, then fine. DeJuan Jones will take it. And it's just, there's no way I think that sealed his fate. Only way this dude's stepping back on the field for the Browns, in my opinion, is, knock on wood, if there's an injury to DeJuan Jones or Jack Conklin. He's not. I don't think he'll play another down in a football game for the Browns in his career unless there's an injury.
There's an open fullback position, maybe. I don't know how he runs, how he blocks with a 5 yard to go.
I can't even imagine him in that position. Listen, not everybody has to be like a hoorah guy on the field or even in the locker room. Even Myles isn't much of a. Miles gets fired up on the field sometimes, but he's kind of known as like a quiet demeanor guy. Like he's, you know what I mean? Like he's not a big jawed up hoorah kind of player. Even obviously I don't play in the National Football League, but even when I played, I'm way more fiery on this podcast than I ever was when I played. I was too tired to be hooting and hollering. I was a fat kid playing both ways. I didn't hoot or holler at all. But my play, I let my play speak. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything. I'm just, but Jedrick Wills, he doesn't just seem like he's a quiet guy who goes out and performs at a high level. He seems lethargic, like he doesn't care. And you can come off as lethargic and like you might not care if you can go out and still play at a high level. But you've literally been a traffic cone for the entire season, a turnstile. And then off the field, you're talking about business decisions, not playing. You're lethargic. You seem disinterested. Like that's just a bad combination. I don't know where he plays going forward. Somebody will probably pick him up because of where he was drafted, and so they're going to say he has potential. But he has not put good tape out there this season. And on this podcast,
he's just not confident, dude. He's just not a confident guy. Like he's not. I don't think he's confident in what he does. Like in any technique that he does whatsoever. Because when I listen to Joe Thomas speak, he was always injured, and or he was always hurt. And when he was injured, he still played because he had the consecutive snap streak, right? But he was confident enough in his technique that he could overcome the limitations of his injuries. And he said that numerous times. And this guy comes out, and Joe Thomas was a big fan of his, and now he says the exact opposite thing. He says, I got to be 100%. I've got it all over my notes here. Just wasn't confident. I go, not confident. It's just, and everybody reads his expressions. Everybody reads his body language. It's awful. Even I'm not bought in.
Even on the field, it's awful. It seems like he doesn't know what to do. He'll slide the wrong way, or there's a miscommunication, and him and Bitonio will let a guy through, and Bitonio thought he was going to take him, and he'll stand there instead of chasing the guy down and like trying to make a second effort play and protect his quarterback. He'll just stand there and look like a woe is me.
Yeah.
Like,
he's Eeyore. He's Eeyore of the NFL.
Yes. It's just not a good look. And again, like I said, not everybody has to be a cheery hoot and holler guy, but if you're going to be a little bit lackadaisical, like you got to perform at a high level still. And on this podcast, we have defended Jed in terms of against the people who have called him a bust. Before this year, a lot of people called him a straight bust. And I just didn't think you could label him that when he came in as a rookie, went and started at left tackle every single game for a top 5 offensive line. That being
Do you want his player ratings?
That being said, this year he's awful. There's no defensive season.
So when he came out, basically what we're looking at is there's a couple tackles that came out. I don't know who you wanted, but I wanted Andrew Thomas, but he went number 4, so that wasn't realistic to get it 10, right? And Kirsten Wirfs is a big name, other than Mekhi Becton, who hasn't panned out, right? But in his first season, 2022, he's got 957 snaps, 11 penalties, 4 sacks, 61.5. Then after that, we'll go season per season. He had an injured year, so he had 763, 4 penalties, 5 sacks, 66.1. That was his player rating. That was the highest, the second year. Then it goes 62.9, 54, 52. So he's dropped off in his last 2 years. He's got paid more, but he's put out less, right? And he was injured for most of the year last year. So it seems like his interest level in playing is just decreased, right? Whereas you look at Andrew Thomas, his PFF rating goes 62.1, 78.9, 89.1, when they're really good, 76.1, and now it's 75.4, but I think he's injured right now, right? Then Tristan Wirfs, who we could have had, 81.6, 84.6, 83.8, 81.3, 83.5. And he's got the size and everything that you would want in a left tackle, right? The only thing is he played right to start. I don't know if throwing him right in like Jed did, I don't know if that would be ideal if you're in the AFC North, right? So he got developed very well by Tampa Bay, because I can't think of, like, other than Jordan Cameron, like, who's a good pass rusher in that division, right?
My thing, though, I guess the thing I'll push back on is people who really crap on Andrew Berry about taking Wills over Wirfs and saying he's just such a it's not like he went and drafted a complete unknown. Jed Wills was an extremely highly ranked player coming out of the draft, first round draft grade. He was seen as an A-plus pick. Joe Thomas was elated when we took Jed Wills. So hindsight's 2020. Everybody can go back and be like, now look at it. You should have taken this guy. But it's not like at the time that Jed Wills was seen as a terrible draft pick. He was graded out high. He was projected to be a top draft pick. Everybody was happy with the signing of him. You can't, to me, it's effort. It looks like effort. And like you said, disinterest. Just like football is, we always hear like it's a job to these guys that once it gets to this level, but you have to have some kind of passion for the game. And if not, you at least have to be motivated by, I want to be good at my job, And if he doesn't look like, I don't know what motivates Jed Wills.
Dude, I did sales for years. I was a sales manager. This guy, I'd be writing his ass up every week. You didn't hit your targets. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. He looks so disinterested. He does to me, he does everything you shouldn't do, right? The first thing in sales, you want peak attitude, right? You want, hey, I want to be here. I want to help you out. He doesn't have that. His confidence is just way, way too low.
Hey, Browns fans, nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code DAWGS. DAWGS. With 5 generations of experience, they constantly deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code DAWGS and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS. Minimum purchase may apply.
That'll be interesting to see what happens the rest of the year in terms of if there's an injury or not. But like I said, I don't think he plays another snap for the Browns unless there's an injury. I think this pretty much sealed the fate. I think Kevin coming out and saying it's a poor choice of words is just him coming out and publicly defending one of his players because he sees him getting drugged by the media super hard.
Yeah.
But I think the writing's on the wall with that one.
I've never heard a presser. Like when I first heard this, I'm like, where is the guy that works for the Browns that says, okay, this is done? Like you need to shut up. You know, I was in an instance like that once. Yeah, once in life, we had to confront a guy. It was a specific thing at work, and he said something to a lady that wasn't good. And long story short, he goes, "Oh, I wouldn't say that because I like this different part way better," and it was very derogatory. And I'm like, dude, you need to shut your mouth. You know, be quiet. You know, and that's what someone needed to do with that guy. You know.
Well, unfortunately for Jed, it might have cost him a decent amount of money because his next contract's not going to be great. He's going to be a prove-it player. But that's enough bashing on Jed. Everybody else has been doing it. We had to get our 2 cents in, but I wanted to move on.
You know,
go ahead.
You know what the big bash is, though, just quickly, is because Justin Jefferson came out in that, and he got drafted like 21. At the end of the day, we didn't need a receiver at the time because we had Odell, we had Jarvis, we had a lot of stuff. But there's a lot of like sour grapes because of the other guys that were in that draft that we could have had. And I think that's where it comes from.
Oh, the Browns can do that with almost every single draft ever. Like, don't go look at the draft that we took. We could have drafted Myles Garrett, Deshaun Watson, and TJ Watt in the same draft, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Without moving.
Or we could have Or we could have had Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, I think if I'm way off and they weren't drafted in the same year, but I remember talking about this on the show like within the last year. But
you're 100%. You're 100% right, man.
So, but yeah, Browns fans, if we start doing that, it's a long, dark rabbit hole that you're never going to get out of. So don't do that. But I want to shift focus to the Browns coach now and kind of looking forward into the second half of the season, there's been a lot of speculation about the future of Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, but most importantly, Kevin Stefanski. Is he going to be back next year? Can he survive this? I mean, Hugh Jackson survived 0-16 and 1-31 and still got brought back for a third year under Jimmy Haslam.
That's right.
So he showed a significant amount of patience in that regard because he knew that we were trying to rebuild and he knew that there was going to be growing pains, so he showed patience. Does he know now, like, hey, I crippled this team, or we crippled this team with the quarterback decision, so this is going to be a rough patch, and I know this, and I'm going to be patient because I know I got good guys in the building. And we're kind of hearing that there's a weird vibe in the building, like there's a set number of games that he's got to win. What do you think? If you are looking at this schedule, I've said on this show multiple times, if we don't win this game against the Saints, to me, this is the only game where I'm even giving the Browns any chance. If we lose this game, I think this is a 2-15 campaign for the Browns, no doubt. And if we win this game, I think it's a 3-14 campaign. So does Kevin Stefanski survive 2-15, 3-14, or does he need to get to X amount of wins to be back next season?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be wildly optimistic on this. I can tell you what my gut says, and it's going to side with what you're saying, or what my logic says. But if I'm going to be wildly optimistic, we beat the Saints, we split the Steelers. We're going to have, I don't know, there's got to be one 49ers game in there. It's got to be the Chiefs. They have a letdown.
We already did that
in Cleveland. What's that?
We already had our game. That was the Ravens game.
We play them. We're going to split. We're going to split with our guys. We can beat the Bengals. Hopefully, we can freeze out the Dolphins. Maybe we go 5-3. You know what I mean? In those 8 games. And again, guys, like, I'm being wildly optimistic here. I'm like literally thinking that somehow our offense finds what it had in the last 5 games last year. And we go on some kind of run. The main thing that would have to happen is our offensive line. 2 things that would have to do: learn how to pass block, learn how to run block. They're just not there. They're not dominating the line of scrimmage. If there are some small things that they've talked about, they said there's some small tweaks that we're just not doing, and they should pay big dividends. If the big dividend is going to be holding the line of scrimmage or going past that as a run blocker, that would open up stuff for Nick Chubb. Instead of getting 2 yards, he gets 4 yards. That'll set up a lot for Jameis Winston. The other thing is when you're doing that, then we're getting back into play action. I don't know if we need to be doing a lot of 5 receiver sets, 4 receiver sets, that kind of stuff. But again, like, this is really like pie in the sky. Like, I don't know if this will happen. There's some pretty solid teams that have been to the Super Bowl, probably might end up in the Super Bowl, some big offenses in there, and our defense is going to have to not be number 17 defense. They have to be the number 1 defense like they were last year. And how they do that, I have the most faith in that. I think even with Sedarius gone, I think McGuire's done enough. I think Mike Hall can do something, and I think those guys can establish themselves. We just need JOK back. And then all I've heard all year long is that our secondary is the best secondary in the league. They haven't shown it. No, they haven't showed it. So that actually comes to fruition. They actually get interceptions. Because we have 1 freaking interception. And guess who has it? The guy that's on IR, JOK. That is ridiculous. And they've had so many in their hands. So to get to 5-3, then that's another, thing that's going to come about. We get a ton of turnovers, and that'll help our cause. But other than that, I mean, if it's like we're like in the Chargers game, yikes, I'm going to have to side with you. But I mean, tell me, like, if you had a pie in the sky, then like your idea of, like, is it 4-4? Is it like,
I don't have one.
You're going to be a realist.
I have no. They've done nothing to give me. They gave me a glimmer of hope after that Ravens game, and then they completely squashed it in the Chargers game. And I'm not doing that to myself. I'm not. It's done. I guess the bigger question then is if we only win, we don't win any more games, or they win one more game. Like, do you think Kevin Stefanski is going to be back?
That's tough, man. I think if you have this big of a debacle, I would say no, but he has a little bit of clout with those two Coach of the Year awards, right? I can see your pessimism because, I mean, at the end of the day, we've put Ken Dorsey in as offensive coordinator, and we haven't budged on anything. We are still 32nd in yards per game, 32nd in plays per game. Rushing yards were 29th. Rushing attempts were 27th. Passing, we're at 28th. Passing attempts were at 32. Like, sacks were at 32. Like, that, for me, like, to be really positive stuff. And, like, you're an offensive coach. Your offense is the worst. Like, I don't know how you survive that, right? And in one thing, we keep saying, like, well, we don't want him to be fired because we want him to get into next year. I just don't see how it happens if you don't win a game. Like, if we don't beat him, and you're say you're right. Say we beat the Saints and we just lose out. I don't think you can keep your job. You've lost the locker room, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see really where Schwartz or Vetrone would be giving up. But, I mean, if you're that pathetic on offense, what's there to look forward to, you know?
I think it all hinges. I don't think it's wins and losses. I think it's the locker room. I think if you start seeing leaks, you know, players talking on social media, stories getting out about certain players not being bought in or not thinking that the coaching staff isn't setting them up to win. If you start hearing that kind of stuff and you lose out, then I think he's gone. I think if they continue to be tight-lipped, they come out, they play hard, if the defense keeps playing hard and the offense, I mean, the offense plays hard. They try. They just suck. Outside of Jedrick Wills, he doesn't try hard. But, you know what I mean? If you continue to come out and it looks like they're playing hard and they're trying to win, but they're losing, but they haven't given up, then I think you can bring Kevin back. If it goes to the point where guys are just, like, the effort's gone, like it's 11 DJ Moores out there. DJ Moore clearly doesn't want to be in Chicago anymore. If, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's just giving up on the field and you're seeing it happen in real time, then I think Kevin is gone. I don't think it's there. I don't think, Jed was the only odd one. And then I don't know if you've heard anything else. I mean, they did ask Juan Thornhill if he'd be back. He said he wasn't sure. I mean, he's been here for 2 seasons. He's played one, really. He's been maybe not even a full season. I love the guy's attitude, but on the field, even when he's been on the field, it's been so disappointing. He's not lived up to all I heard, too. Even when we signed him, we were all excited for him. Kansas City Chiefs fans kept telling us about how much we were going to love the guy. It's like, I don't know what happened there. That's just been one that, it's like we've signed 2 legitimate safeties in the last, 4 or 5 years, and both of them have been not great. And John Johnson and Juan Thornhill. So if Kevin Stefanski, I personally would, unless, again, if he loses the locker room to complete mayhem and quitting, and then you got to fire him. But I personally don't want that to happen because I don't want to go back to square one of finding a coach and all that stuff. If it were to happen, do you have anybody on your short list of guys that you're interested in?
I've got a couple, and this is just out of who's currently available, either at the quarterback or available head coach wise. I mean, the number one, I think, would be Mike Vrabel, just to stay with the AFC North type football. He's a tough guy. He'd bring in an offensive coordinator. He wouldn't be calling any plays on anything. He'd be managing the game. He'd probably retain Schwartz. He'd probably retain Vetrone if he wants to stay. And I think that would give you your kind of fluff turnaround, right?
Can I put my thing with that is if you're going to hire Mike Vrabel, who's currently in the building, and then he's going to keep Jim Schwartz and Ventrone, That would be this organization saying they think the single biggest reason why we only won 2 games is their 2-time coach of the year that they just gave an extension to. If you know what I mean? If you're going to get the entire coaching staff and the guy who's advising, who's here right now, and you're only going to get rid of Kevin Stefanski, I feel like you're saying Kevin was the reason we weren't a good football team last year. I don't know if anybody can say that. Maybe there's things you don't like about Kevin, but I don't think you'd put anybody on there with this quarterback in play right now and the way the offensive line is played and think a good coach is going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, no, I get that. Mine would be just like a soft turnaround. It's just to retain all the coaches. My fear is that if you get rid of Stefanski, then everybody else is gone. Then you got to restart, and it's going to be a harder reset, right? Other than that, I don't know. I like your idea of Ben Johnson, and you may want to get into that because I'm not going to. The other guys that would be favorable, just looking in some articles. Robert Saleh, which I'm not on. Aaron Glenn, I'm not sure. Cliff Kingsbury, absolutely not. Those were the main ones that I saw in different articles for the Browns. So I wasn't impressed with any of those. That's why I went with Mike Vrabel, and I didn't look into college or anything like that. I just looked like if I had to make my pick today, and I'm going to make this thing turn around fast, it would be Mike Vrabel. I honestly think Mike Vrabel is not going to be here, and there'll be more available candidates near the end of the year. I would maybe see Mike Vrabel going to Ohio State, to be honest with you. That would be fun. He'd be back in his home state. You know what I mean? Maybe he does have interest in the Browns. I don't know. But everybody has a hand in this 2-7 record. And I don't know what he's doing or help making this thing any better or any worse, or you know what I mean? Other than just advising. So.
This episode is sponsored by Morning Man Greens. Dogpack, do you guys ever start your day feeling like you're dragging your feet before you even step out of bed? I know I do. And right now, I've got the ultimate morning fuel for you guys. Morning Man Greens is packed with 95 milligrams of clean caffeine from green tea and coffee bean extracts. Plus, it has over 75 vitamins, superfoods, probiotics, and digestive enzymes to power you up and improve your gut health. And if caffeine isn't your style, don't worry. They've got it available in decaf too, so you can choose which way you want to start your day. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are like me. I eat precisely 0 vegetables on a daily basis, so I know my body is lacking for those vitamins and minerals. I've been drinking Morning Man Greens for about a month or so, and I got to tell you guys, my body can tell the difference. I have more energy throughout the day, my digestion has improved, and I swear I've been sleeping better too. It's a green powder that you mix with water and ice, and I won't lie, guys, it does not look like it tastes the best, but I promise you, it tastes excellent. I keep saying it tastes like kind of a blueberry fruit punchish type of taste, and I was shocked, honestly, how delicious it was. That I personally feel the difference right from the first try. No more sluggish starts, no awful aftertaste, and no more energy crashes. Just the pure, sustained energy all day long. So for a limited time, Morning Man Greens is offering our listeners an exclusive 20% discount. Head over to morningman.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use the code DOGS20 at checkout. That's DAWGS20. That's morningman.com/dogs, and use the code DOGS20 to start dominating your mornings with Morning Man Greens.
My short list candidate, Ben Johnson, would definitely be up there, but I just don't see any world in which he's coming here. I could see there's a rumor that Eberflus is safe in Chicago. I'm not buying it at all. I could see them firing Eberflus, and I could see him possibly going to Chicago, which is in the division, so he'd be doing the Lions a little bit dirty. But that's a good spot if he thinks Caleb Williams is good and just has poor coaching right now. But Ben Johnson would be up there. Cliff Kingsbury's an interesting name. I don't know if I would want him as a head coach, but man, the Browns should have given serious consideration to him as offensive coordinator over Ken Dorsey. The hindsight thing, the guy is definitely good offensively. He's got an offensive mind. I don't know how he is as a head coach. He was never a winning head coach in college. He wasn't a winning head coach in Arizona. It felt like maybe he was, and then they kind of went off the rails. Some of that might have been they put a lot on Kyler Murray, and he got banged up a lot. So I don't know. I think Cliff Kingsbury will get another shot at being head coach, though, based on how well the Commanders are playing this year and what he's done with Jaden Daniels. Zero doubt in my mind, he's going to get another head coaching job somewhere. But I guess my problem is the only guy I would even, and I don't even know if he's an upgrade because I've never seen him be a head coach, but the only guy that really tickles my fancy is Ben Johnson. If you're not getting him, I feel like the other guys that are going to be available are just most likely a bunch of retreads that have failed at other places. We have the 2-time coach of the year. I'd rather put my chips on him righting the ship than going with like a Mike McCarthy who's going to be having, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense to me to move on for somebody unless you are really sure they're going to be an upgrade.
Well, here's a point that I'll give you about keeping Stefanski, because you always say this. Kyle Shanahan, guess what his first 5 seasons were? 6-10, then 4-12. How many guys last 4-12 after 4-12? Not too many. And then he went 3-13, which was awesome, right? But then he went to 6-10 again, so he regressed. Then he went to 10-7. Then after the 10-7, 13-4, 12-5, and now he's 5-4, right? So if you kind of correlate that with Stefanski, let's say there's some growing pains, there's some injuries, maybe a quarterback was forced on you, and there's some other stuff going on. There's going to have to be a retooling. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Chubb, right? And he was the focal part of the offense and helped a lot of wins with Stefanski, right? We don't know where that's going. That being said, very similar records if you kind of add everything up. You still want to see, like what I've been saying for the last couple episodes. You don't want to do this like, let's tear it all down, because nobody else in our division does that anymore. We're the only ones that do that. Let's lose out to get the number 1 pick, or however people want to say it. Last year, the Steelers were, 2-4? They had no quarterback, and they still somehow made the playoffs at 10-7. And same with the Bengals. They didn't lose out. They basically won out, and then they kicked our ass in the last one. I know we cleared our bench, but still they wanted to win that game.
So, no, yeah, I don't. We'll see in terms of. I like the Shanahan thing where you say a lot of people forget that or don't realize that he just went over 500 as a head coach, I think early last season. His record before Brock Purdy in his starting quarterback was Jimmy G. His record without Jimmy G was like 20 games under 500 or something. It was, if he had to play with a backup quarterback, they lost. Kevin Stefanski has coached with backup quarterbacks almost his entire Browns coaching career. He's coached in almost absolute chaos, from COVID to backup quarterbacks to just all kinds of stuff, like drama with the team. And he somehow managed to keep us up until this point. We've played meaningful football all the way up until the end of the season every single year Kevin Stefanski's been here. So unless like Ben Johnson says, I'll come to Cleveland, and you really think he's the guy, I just think unless the locker room revolts, I'm bringing Kevin Stefanski back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who can win it without a great quarterback, because, I mean, who do you think the greatest coach is right now that's coaching? It would have to be Andy Reid. Well, he's had Donovan McNabb, and he's had Patrick Mahomes. And, like, if I take a look at his winning, like, he's pretty much had them. When he didn't have Donovan McNabb, he went 4-12, 5-11 his first year. Like, you know what I mean? When he was a rookie. And he doesn't have too many losing seasons, but he's had all pro quarterbacks his entire life. And that's smart to do that.
There's, if people would be, I think people would be shocked. We talked about this last year when I talked about, like, what does success in the NFL actually look like? It's not a Super Bowl every year. That just isn't realistic. There's the Patriots and the Chiefs are an anomaly. Like, that is not what every organization does. The average win percentage of the head coaches currently in the NFL is like hovers right around 500. I'm pretty sure Kevin Stefanski entering this year, he was above average in terms of win percentage amongst his peers in the league. There's only a handful of guys who win upper 50s to 60% of their games. Most of these guys are winning low 50s to upper 40% of their games. So I feel like some people just get this, you're not a good coach unless you win 12 games every single year and go to the AFC Championship. That doesn't happen. Most of the coaches in the NFL hover around 500. You just
Belichick coached the Browns, I watched him. He never had a winning season, never had a winning record. He had one winning season out of 5 seasons.
Yeah,
That's it.
You
And
just
they got Tom Brady.
you just bank on the fact that when you are having your good season, all the chips fall. You don't have the injuries, and you make it to the Super Bowl. That unfortunately hasn't happened for Kevin yet, but he's been above average in terms of the amount of games he's won since he's come to Cleveland. So,
If you can win with PJ Walker, you are a coach of the year in my book.
especially against the Niners, who played in the Super Bowl last year. Well, we had a couple more topics, but it's getting a little late, and I feel like this is going to be a topic every single week, what we're going to talk about next, so I kind of think we should just save it for next week.
Yeah, for sure.
So make sure you guys come back next week. We're going to talk about quarterback situation for the Browns, more than likely, unless Jameis throws for 800 yards this week, which I don't foresee happening. So,
Did you want to get your one thing you want to see against New Orleans, though?
yeah, I guess so. I won't be on the preview episode this week. I have to miss it. So the one thing I want to see in the Saints game, I just want us to look buttoned up and disciplined. I'll be honest, like my give a crap meter, this is going to sound terrible coming from a host of a Browns podcast, but when I got the Cavs who just went 13-0 a couple minutes ago, the Guardians coming off an ALCS run, the Buckeyes are number 2 in the country and look like they have a legitimate shot at national championship. It's hard to give a shit about the Browns right now, and it's just, I just want them to come out and look like a professional football team, because at this point, unless we're going to rattle off 10 in a row, wins are the worst thing that can happen to the Browns. So just look buttoned up and don't look like a laughing stock. And obviously, come game day, I'll be excited, and if we're winning, I'm going to be cheering, but it's just, in between the games right now, it's so hard to care when I get to watch the Cavs play a fun brand of basketball. I get to watch the Buckeyes on Saturday play well. I get to, coming off a big baseball season. This is the first time in so long that the Browns aren't playing meaningful football late into the season. Even the 2 years with Stefanski where we didn't make the playoffs, we weren't mathematically eliminated until, week 15, week 16. We were playing meaningful football late into the season. I know technically we're not mathematically eliminated, but there's nothing about this football team that says we're a playoff football team. And it's just, I've been
Oh my God. We're 0.5% chance.
I've been spoiled by the last 4 years of watching meaningful football late into the season, where it's just hard for me to get back into the mindset of just, I'm just happy to be watching the Browns. Like, this isn't 2016 again. I got used to watching us win some football games, and now that I feel like we have no shot, it's just hard for me to give a shit. And that's just the way it is. They got to earn that back. I'm obviously still going to watch. I'm obviously still going to talk about them, but man, they've made it tough on me this year. Like, my enthusiasm is at an all-time low.
Oh, dude, try and being up where I am. I got to try and convince people to come and watch games with me, because I'm always trying to grow my member base, man. And the offense has been awful. I mean, the one thing I got to see, and I've already said it this episode, is I got to see turnovers, and I got to see it by our defensive backs. They're going against their main weapons, Alvin Kamara. You got to know this. You got to shut him down, and we need to shut him down in the flats. We can't let him run all over the place in the passing game. But their top receivers are Marquez Valdes-Scantling.
He just got there.
And Cedric Wilson and Mason Tipton. Those are the guys. Everybody else is on IR.
Hey.
So you got to lock those guys up, and you got to have this game. I don't care what you do. Score 10-3. The other thing is let's figure out a return game. And I don't know if you just think this is super wild, man. Maybe bring up Kadarius Toney and let him return punts and kicks.
I was going to ask
4-3 speed.
Where's he been? I don't think he's good, but like you said, if he can catch a punt or a kick, he could at least be a weapon in there. You can't. I don't know if you can put him at receiver, because the guy can't catch a cold. But can you put him at returner? Maybe. I agree.
I mean, if he's in a muff every punt, then maybe not, and maybe that's why he's still not on the practice squad, not called up. But the 4-3 speed's got to be penalizing a little bit. I guess. So I'm like,
if I'm being more optimistic, I want to see Cedric Tillman have another good game, because he's had 3 good games in a row. And I would love for Jamari Thrash to get an opportunity to get the ball in his hands in one of these games. Like, let's just see what the guy has. He's the only guy that we have in the wide receiver core that scares anybody with speed and athleticism. Like can we get him the ball a little bit? Let's just see what happens. So that's the two things that I would want to see.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
So, well, guys,
go Brownies.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys sticking it out through this season with us, watching not just preview episodes, reaction episodes, but now you're even watching me and Kenny in the middle of the week. So we appreciate you guys being invested into the Browns and invested into us. It doesn't go unnoticed. We appreciate all the support. Again, help out Kenny reach his Movember goal. Check the comments for the link, and I'm sure Josh will put the link in the description. We just have to make sure we tell Josh the link so he knows what the link is. But if you want to get intros and thoughts on the show, it's thedogspodcast.com. And if you want to become a Dog Pack member, it's jointhedogs.com. Again, we appreciate you guys being here. Go Cavs, and we'll see you guys for the Dog Pack Discord preview episode, I think on Friday.
Go Brownies.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Dog Pack, it's hard to believe, but the holiday season is here. Ladies, treat your men, and men, how about treating yourselves? Manly Bands is having an early Black Friday sale, 30% off site-wide, plus you get an additional 25% off when you use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. But don't wait, this sale will be ending soon. Guys, if you're getting married soon, you need a wedding band, or if you've been thinking about replacing or getting a second wedding band, Manly Bands is the best place to find bands made for men. Now, they've got your standard gold and white gold bands, but guys, they have some very unique materials and collections to choose from. Tungsten, tantalum, titanium, carbon fiber, even materials like meteorite, antler, and dinosaur bone. Yes, the bands are actually made from dinosaur fossils. They have rings made from Jack Daniel's whiskey barrels. They have a Fender guitar collection, a DC Comics collection, Lord of the Rings. There is so much to see. You just have to go to manlybands.com and use promo code DAWGS for 25% off your order. Manly Bands will send you a free ring size guide if you're unsure of which size you need, and every Manly Band comes shipped with a free silicone band so you can swap it out whenever you're working or playing hard. But don't wait, the early Black Friday sale won't last long. Get 30% off site-wide right now, plus an additional 25% off with code DAWGS, DAWGS at manlybands.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.